3000 BC, there was no life on Earth until the Nile River was unified under one ruler.
Before the beginning of time, rose Atom from the waters. He created himself using his thoughts and hills, for there was nowhere he could stand. Atom was alone in the world, which is why he joined with his shadow to produce a son and a daughter. Atom gave birth to his son by spitting him out. He named him Shu and made him god of the air. Atom vomited up his daughter. He named her Thnut and made her the goddess of mist and moisture. Shu and Thnut were given the taste of separating the chaos into principles of law, order, and stability. The chaos was divided into light and dark, also known as Mat, which formed the principles of life for all time. Mat was a feather, it was light and pure. Shu and Thnut produced Jeb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. At first these two were tangled together as one. Shu, god of the air, pushed Nut up into the heavens. There she would remain arched out over Jeb, her mate. They longed to be together, but in the name of Mat they had to be apart, to fulfill their functions. Nut produced rain for Jeb, and Jeb made things grow on earth. As the sky, she gave birth to the sun every night before dawn, and by day it would follow its course over the earth and die at sunset. Shu and Thnut produced the other gods. Isis, the queen of the gods. Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty. Osiris, the god of wisdom and justice. Seth, the god of evil. Thoth, the god of wisdom, and Nephthys, the protectress of the dead. But the chaos was still vast and not yet fully separated into the order of Mat. Shu and Thnut once got lost in the waters of Nu. Atom was desperate to find his children. He sent his all-seeing eye throughout the heavens and earth to search for them. In time Shu and Thnut returned with the eye. When Atom saw them again he was so delighted that he wept tears of joy. As these tears hit the earth, they became the first men. As the man populated the earth they had to uphold the truth and balance of Mat. They had the task of tending the earth and worshipping the gods.
Land of origin/settlement. Without the ancient Egyptian religion, the Great Pyramids would not exist, neither would there be the fabulous temples, the tombs and their mummies, or the colorful decorations. The spiritual world that was created by the ancient Egyptians was fascinating and one which remains unique in the history of human religion, but at the same time, familiar in many ways. The character of the spiritual world was mysterious. Although Egyptian religion was often in layers of myth and ritual, it nevertheless invaded the ancient civilization of the Nile and eventually shaped, sustained and directed Egyptian culture in almost every way possible. The ancient Egyptians sometimes were presented as if they were dead and gone. Ancient Egyptians were created through the god of the river Amun. He was the creator of the ancient Egyptians. He raised from the Nile River that the Egyptian people believe that it is something spiritual for them because it is the center of life for them. Ancient Egyptian geographical setting was the Red Land and the Black Land. The Black Land was the fertile land on the banks of the Nile. The Egyptians used this land for growing their crops. This was because it was the only land in ancient Egypt that could be farmed as it had water of the rich. Whereas the Red Land was the unfertile desert land that protected Egypt as it separated ancient Egypt from the neighbor-s countries and invading armies, and also the Nile River, which is an important aspect of Egyptians' belief. Ancient Egyptians were able to produce plenty of food in the Black Land, and this allowed a population to offer more time and resources to the culture. Ancient Egyptians were settled agriculture people.
Principal beliefs. Ancient Egyptians were very concerned about the afterlife. In order to avoid being counted among the damned of the afterlife, one had to not only worship the Egyptian gods, but also live by a code of standards that would be judged after death. The ancient Egyptians were driven to find meaning in existence, but there were other influences on the religion, such as the need to justify kingship, among others. Ancient Egyptians had a number of gods and goddesses, in which they believe in. There were more than 700 god and goddesses. Each of these gods and goddesses had different power control of a specific thing. Ancient Egyptians' principled belief for the importance of the afterlife. They had strict rules for their deaths. They believed that the physical body has to be well maintained to allow a place for their spirit to dwell in the afterlife.
Supernatural and deities. The Egyptian deities or collection of gods includes many gods for the same characteristic or with the same powers but different names. This is because of the restricted nature of some aspects of the belief. Achan was the god who took the recent dead people over the river to the other side. Amon the crater and wind god was also the god of fertility. Anuket was the goddess of the southern city of Aswan and protected the city against invasions. Anubis is the god of the dead, and was always pictured in the tombs. He was originally god of the underworld, but became associated with the embalming process and funeral rites. Basu was the god of war and protector against evil. Horus was the powerful god of the sky, and gave protection and courage to pharaohs. Isis was the female god of love, motherhood and children as well as peace. Nefertrim symbolized the sun and was the female form of Ra. Ra was the most powerful and early Sunday god.
Rituals. Ancient Egyptians had two important sets of rituals that they believed in, one being the ritual of worship. Each day there were usually 3 services in each temple, at dawn, midday and dusk. They all involved purification of the priest, the temple and the offerings which were offered. The population knew about these but they played no role in the process and were not allowed to enter the temples. The population had limited opportunity to participate in rituals to the various annual or regular main public festivals. Another major ritual which was associated with the death of pharaohs and the ceremony and mummification of their bodies and the placement of their bodies in caskets and jars for organs. The materials found in some tombs showed the importance that the king and priests placed on post-life requirements. The significance of the principal rituals for the individual and community for Egyptian religions is that of the process of the mummification and associated rituals along with the rituals of worship, which are pathways that a human takes to reach the immortal or spiritual life. The process of mummification is the step-by-step requirement to make sure the individual reaches the spiritual world in the best possible condition for their life after death. It is the connection process which makes sense of the concept of God. It allows for the hope of individuals and communities and is the purpose of life with its vagaries of the Nile floods, life and death. For Egyptians, they believed that the spiritual life was the purpose of living. Evidence of this is shown by the fact that the pharaohs spent their entire lives preparing for it. They believed it is the reason to be.
Society. Ancient Egyptian people had many roles in their society: women's expectations, family life, housing, farming and work. In the Egyptian religion, female equality was not present, as they had no rights and importance. However, this has significantly changed as today's society expects highly of females. Family life also was one of the significant roles in ancient Egyptians. Arranged marriage was very vital in this religion. The adherents of this religion worship and believe in many goddesses. This has impacted on their lives in current time as they believe everything happens for a reason. For example, on a rainy day, the adherents of this religion believe that one of the gods made it rain. Ancient Egyptians also had roles in society. On the top of this society was the pharaoh. He ruled successfully in Egypt. Ancient Egyptians practiced festivals and ceremonies to fulfill their purpose of living.
Search for meaning. The meaning and purpose of life of ancient Egyptian is to nourish the seeds of divine. The adherents of this religion are guided to the afterlife via life on earth being the pathway to success. Throughout this path, the adherents' life is determined and reflected through the actions they consider on earth. Rituals, ceremonies and principled beliefs are always to success. Their actions on earth reflect the consequences in the afterlife. The purpose of life is to live and pass the test of the weighing of the heart. And ones that fail will reincarnate until they pass.